Sister to the noise, yeah, the mess we make. Machine Pun Kelly get caught in the fray. Facts and logic with a twist of chest. Strip it down to truth, yeah, forget the rest. Humor pulls the lies right out of the park. Look beyond the shadows that set the dark. Sparks of laughter fire up the night, bringing clarity when they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangled lies. Steve Pun Kelly with a set of clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts glow.
Hello and welcome to the Pun Show. And to start off today's Pun Show, I have a pun. I think that Donald Trump didn't mean that they wanted to start the Board of Peace. I think he meant that he's bored of peace, like B-O-R-E-D instead of B-O-A-R-D. Anyway, that's my terrible joke for the day, at least the first one. I don't know how much of a show I have today. We'll see what happens in the comments. I didn't create a slideshow. Been a kind of a busy work week for me, so I haven't had a chance to jump on. And, you know, we've had this whole Iranian war thing going on. And I had some thoughts I wanted to share on that. First of all, I think there is a real reversal of reality going on here. The way that even it's being debated in Congress, the way that the media is covering it, is all whether or not Congress will move to stop Trump. And Congress didn't vote to stop Trump. That is not the way it's supposed to work. The way it's supposed to work is if the president wants to go to war, he goes to Congress and asks for it and explains why, and then Congress votes on it, on whether to go to war. The president doesn't start a war and then go to Congress or then ignore Congress and let Congress decide whether or not to stop him. The whole framing is upside down. There was never a presentation to Congress as to why there should be a war. And I see a lot of post hoc justifications for it. Oh, well, Iran did all these terrorist attacks over the years. You see this nonsense about how they've been an imminent threat for 47 years. Let me tell you a story about imminent and what it means. All right, imminent means that it is happening now, not that it happened then, not that it could someday, might happen maybe if we don't do anything. If it happened a long time ago, like they're talking about stuff that happened in the 80s, then that was the time to react to it, not now. And if it's something that might happen someday maybe, then go to Congress and get approval. The only way that the Constitution or U.S. law allows the president to act without congressional approval is if there is an imminent threat. And imminent is a word with a meaning. It means now. It means it's happening right now. So an example is I'll be sitting around, I'm watching TV, and my wife wants to go to the store. Or she wants to go somewhere. And so she'll come and say, I need to go somewhere. And I'm like, are you ready to go? And she'll say, yeah, I'm ready to go. So I'll turn off the TV, get out of this very chair, and I'll go get in the car. And she'll remember, she's got to do something. And so then she'll spend the next 20 minutes puttering around in the house before she gets out. All right. When you say you're going to go right now, go right now. That's what imminent means. It doesn't mean eventually. But we're not talking about 20 minutes here. We're talking about at most Iran was 2 years away from having any real threat to anyone. They didn't have ballistic missiles that they could arm with nuclear weapons. They didn't have nuclear weapons. They had some 60% uranium, which if they had their entire working capabilities running 24 hours a day for an entire week, then theoretically they could develop that uranium into one nuclear weapon. But that was before we obliterated their ability to enrich uranium. They had actually agreed to descale their uranium as much as possible. And they have a right to some uranium because it has uses other than nuclear weapons, including medical equipment, including energy. So it's not really our right as a country to tell other countries that they can't have, like nuclear imaging or for medicine or something. And they had agreed to not only descale, they agreed to allow inspections. Sorry, I got a comment here. Imminent to me means happening before Congress can return to Washington. Yes, that's a good way to phrase it. Is it possible to notify? And then actually, in the War Powers Resolution, it literally says, if possible. Even, and it's not just like before they're scheduled to. I like the way you phrase that. It's before Congress can return to Washington. So if there's like a 45-minute, they're going to launch a nuclear weapon in the next 45 minutes, then go for it. That's what imminent threat means. So there was no imminent threat. They weren't going to attack us in the next 45 minutes. There's no reason they couldn't have gone, that the president couldn't have gone to Congress first. So, and without that, it's an illegal war. The second thing I want to talk about is it's a war. Like, let's stop. It's amazing how they act like it's a war when they want it to be a war. And then they say it's not a war when they don't want it to be a war. If you saw was it Markwayne Mullin? Who was it? Might have been Mullin. That was sitting there. They said it's a war in one sentence, and then they said, how long will this war last? And he's like, it's not a war. Who said it's a war? And they're like, you just said it's a war. And he gets mad at them for saying that he said it was a war just because he said it was a war. Pete Hegseth has done the same kind of nonsense. They keep trying to say it's a war. They started this war, not us. No, we started this war, and it's a war. But yeah, it's a war. When the framers wrote the Constitution and they gave Congress the power to declare war, they didn't have like exceptions there. There was no, if there's a aerial conflict that, there doesn't actually involve this or that. No, it's a war. It's a war by the framers' standards. If the framers were here right now, they would say it's a war. When you're killing the leader of the other country and the entire, existing power structure, that's a war. When you're saying that you're going to keep bombing them until there's absolute unconditional surrender, it's a war. Let's just stop equivocating around the word war. The idea that it can't be a war because Congress didn't declare war when you didn't give Congress a chance to declare war. No, that means it's an illegal war. It doesn't mean it's not a war. You went to war without congressional approval. That does not mean it's not a war. It means it's not a legal war. So then that actually, to be fair, I think Biden needed congressional approval to attack Yemen. And that was actually the next thing I wanted to point out, and not just about Biden, also Obama with Libya and Clinton with Bosnia, I think, to a degree. I'm not saying that Trump is the first president to do this. And that doesn't mean that I think that what I find ironic about when conservatives are like, what about Biden, or what about Obama, or what about Clinton? It's not that they've been defending Obama and Clinton and Biden for doing those things all these years. They've been attacking them. They've been talking about how terrible it was that they did it. Now that Trump did it, which, by the way, he's done it many, many times. I think he's attacked more countries than any of them. I think just he's up to 7 just this presidency. But we're also talking about scope and scale. What he's done is far more extensive than what anybody did. The closest is probably Obama in Libya. But Obama had like an international UN consortium with him. Like he was part of a UN consortium that was worried about what would happen with Gaddafi. And there are legitimate concerns there. I think what he did was an illegal war. I don't think that Libya was okay. I do think that what happened in Libya, he should have gotten congressional approval first. And I've said that since before Iran happened. This is not like I'm now just saying that because it's convenient. I'm saying that because that's what I think. I think that the presidency has gradually been taking away Congress's authority to declare war since World War II. Like FDR got approval for war. Since then, every single military conflict we've had, we have not gotten actual approval for war. We got something similar with the first Gulf War. We had the authorization for use of military force against the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, but those were against terrorist groups. That was shoehorned to attack Iraq, which was really a sponsor of neither group. And we used that as a pretext. Then the Al-Qaeda split up, and then ISIS formed out of that, and ISIS was fighting Al-Qaeda, but then they did the whole associated forces thing under Obama that kind of changed what that authorization actually was. So I don't think that he really, technically, I don't think Obama had authorization to go after ISIS either. But the Republicans didn't want to give it to him, but they didn't want to not give it to him, because who wants to be like on the side, don't go after ISIS? So that was a big mess. I think what Obama should have done is ask for military force against ISIS and refused to act until he got it. Because then what happened is it all was dominoes falling to get to where we're at now. And this is the important thing. What Obama is doing, or what Trump is doing, vastly outweighs all of those things combined. I think that we've already dropped the whole Libya thing. Actually lasted a number of years, and we've already dropped more bombs on Iran in less than a week than we did the entire time in Libya. So it's definitely different in scope, in scale, in intent, and in terms of having some kind of international consensus. There were real reasons that some people had legitimate concerns about whether Gaddafi would murder civilians. There's also legitimate reasons to think he wouldn't have. But there was actually a real conversation to be had about it. Unlike these post hoc justifications for invading Iran and attacking Iran and throwing over their government. And so finally, this whole thing about the whole nonsense about all these justifications. And this is why imminent becomes important. All these post hoc justifications were justifications that could have been made to Congress before we went to war. If it's all the past terrorist attacks and just you have a bad hair day, and so you want to go and attack Iran, then tell Congress that. Tell Congress why it is, and make Congress vote on whether or not you go to war. Because when the framers wrote the Constitution, remember, I think this is really important, and the media does not actually cover any of this, and it's annoying. When the Constitution was written, the only people that the people directly voted for were the members of the House of Representatives. That's it. The House decided the Senate. The Electoral College decided the president, but the people decided who the representatives were. And then until there was an amendment that we voted directly for the senators. And that was because, and that's why we needed their approval to go to war. War is not always popular. This war is not popular. And so if people have to vote for war or against war, if it's something the people want, they have to go back to their people and defend their vote. And that can be for better or for worse, right? Dennis Kucinich was one of the few people that voted against the authorization for the universe for use of military force to go against Iraq. Well, the conditional one. Anyway, he voted against that. He lost his next election. It was a popular war. He voted against it. I mean, it wasn't really a war, but or an authorization for a war, but you know what I mean. He voted against doing what they did, and he lost his election because of it. You have like the shortest time frame, 2 years, the most immediate chance for the voters to respond. So you've got this election coming up in November. It's going to possibly flip the House. Why do you think the Republicans don't want to have this vote? Why do you think they don't want to go and vote for this war the way the Constitution says that they should? It's because they know that they will lose their elections if they do. Some, not all, but a lot of them will. A lot of people are wondering, why is it that I have to pay, I think gas prices are up 30 or 40 cents a gallon since this thing started. Why do I have to pay more for gas? Because Donald Trump had a feeling. He promised no new wars. Even, some MAGAs, and I don't mean that like a slur, I am, a self-identified thing. Die-hard MAGAs, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, are coming out and saying, this is what I voted against. Matt Walsh, this is what I voted against. Like really, really, like not rhino types, not old school Republican types. We're talking MAGA influencers are going out and saying they're not just upset, they're vocally upset that Donald Trump has now invaded Iran. He's now invaded Venezuela. He's talking about Cuba next. He's just on this empirical world tour. Meanwhile, we're paying more for gas. Prices are going up. The economy's in a tailspin. The jobs are like the jobs report today, we lost another 94,000 jobs. We have less jobs than we did when Donald Trump took president or was inaugurated. Fewer jobs today than when Donald Trump was inaugurated. He has not been a good president, people. And the economy is suffering. And now it's going to suffer more. And it's suffering not just because of the Iran war. That's just going to be the icing on the cake. It's suffering because of mass deportations. It's suffering because of his tariffs, when she's doubled down on after the Supreme Court took it over. So all these MAGA apologists, even some of them are getting upset. Oh, and then the Epstein files, right? They released some new stuff. I haven't seen anything about that. I haven't looked up yet. I was researching something else. But MAGA is not happy with him. Sorry, Mac, let me get to your comments here. We've got a bunch of... Mac is like a one-man conversation right now. I don't know what's going on with YouTube. All right, so... To be fair, I think Biden... Okay, so 7 or 8 wars. During an interview during the presidential campaign, Hegseth argued that ship commanders should have the authority to commit acts of war, which is even more dangerous than the president. Yeah, was that the he was talking about? Oh, no more politically correct wars, whatever that's supposed to mean. And then in the same press conference, he bragged about how they took out this Iranian warship that was unarmed, that was on its way back from exercises. I mean, granted, it was a warship, but it was an unarmed warship. And so they sank the boat, and then they didn't go rescue the people that were in the water the way they're supposed to. So that's just add that onto the list of war crimes that Pete Hegseth is responsible for, and then bragged about. Yeah, spending $1 billion a day. And that's just the operational costs. That's not counting like the cost of the 3 fighter jets that were taken down, or any damage to different naval ships that have been targeted and hit. I read something about a bunch of our radar equipment has been hit, all these bases where that's not counting all of that that's not counting the damage the Iranian missiles have done. But we don't have money to feed kids feed children school lunches. There currently is no defined objective. Yes, that's another thing. The objectives of the war seem to be scattered, and the reasons for the war seem to be scattered. It's one thing one day and another thing the next day. I have no idea why we're over there or when we'll be done. It's all just these... It's like a B movie script where the despot leader is like saying all these cliches and nonsense. It's like every single press conference by Hegseth or Trump is like these B movie script rants, or it's like Stephen Miller wrote them or something. By the way, here's another pun for you. So did you hear like Kristi Lynn? This was going around all over the place yesterday. Kristi Noem's full name is Kristi Lynn Arnold Noem. So her initials are KLAN. Isn't that funny? Clan. Her initials are Clan. So Stephen Miller's a kook. Trump always chickens out. And Kristi Noem is Clan. So if you put the 3 of them in the same room, do you have the Ku Klux Klan? But there's another pun for you today. So many of the Democrats, congressmen, want the war also. So far, I think the only one I've heard say anything about it is Hegseth. I will not vote. Well, I don't really have much of a choice, but primary the hell out of anybody that votes for this war. That's what I'll say. My representative is Democrat or as a Republican, so not like he's going to vote against it. But yeah, that's my thoughts on this war. Another thing that happened this week that I haven't had a chance to talk about is Tallarico and Crockett and what happened with that. I really, really like both candidates. I was going to be happy whoever won. I ended up tipping for Tallarico because in the end, not just that I think he'll win, I think if he wins, there's a greater chance something could, like he could get something done. But I love Crockett. And I would have been extremely happy if she had one. Like it's to me, it's not a. It's not. I wasn't going to be disappointed either way. But what happened is, excuse me, the Republican legislature. So hey, Mac Truck says so. Trump wants Mullen to replace Noem. But that would require Mullen to retire from the Senate. Yes. And it's kind of hard to downgrade from Noem, but I think he figured out a way. He must have been mulling that one over for a while. That's a third pun for you today. I'm really putting the pun in Punch Show today. So, Kitty, my first pun was it's not the Board of Peace. Like Trump's got the Board of Peace. It's not so much that he wants a Board of Peace. It's that he got bored of peace. Like the second one is if Donald Trump, or so if you heard about Kristi Noem's full name is Kristi Lynn Arnold Noem. So her initials are Clan. And so if Stephen Miller's a kook, Trump always chickens out, and Kristi Noem are in the same room, does that make the three of them the Ku Klux Klan? That might be my all-time best political pun right there.
Okay, you got laugh out loud from the room on that one. Just so you know, I've got a house full of kids today. Well, they're adults, but they're my kids. And yeah. And you got to chuckle there. Good for you.
That one I'm pretty proud of. That one's one of my better. That's some primo Machine Pun Kelly work right there.
Loki just took your finger yarmulke.
Yeah.
Or beret. Sorry.
Maybe Loki must be French.
So, Mac Truck, it works better in print because then I don't stammer and stumble over my words. I like Crockett merely because I've known about her longer. I have been a fan of Tallarico since before most people knew that Tallarico existed. Or I love his approach. I'm in Texas, and so I've seen a lot of his stuff from like Texas legislature stuff. He has a way of really articulating things so that Republicans understand what he's saying and agree with him. One of my favorite quotes from Tallarico is, because, if you don't know this, he's got a master's in divinity. He was going to be a preacher. He actually, he's actually what the Bible talks about as a Christian, and not what MAGA talks about as a Christian. But one of my favorite quotes from him is, imagine if Christians loved their neighbors the way Jesus commanded. How different the world would be. And I just love that quote. And that really does that frames his attitude in politics. He tries to bring a positive message. He's not conceding things like he still defends transgender rights and gay rights and stuff like that, because he's of the belief if he doesn't have freedom of religion, then if anybody doesn't have freedom of religion, he doesn't have freedom of religion. So, like, freedom of religion means people can disagree with your religious views, right? So anyway, I hope he's the next senator. But what upset me about this whole thing is that, first of all, they tried to do the whole thing where they sabotaged Tallarico with the Colbert thing. Then that flipped on them. More people ended up watching that than if they hadn't made it. And he said he made like $2.5 million in contributions, like within the 24 hours after that. So they did that. Then they did this thing where they changed the districting. Famously, they gerrymandered the district mid-term or mid-decade, which is really weird. So they did that, and then they didn't update their website, so that they changed the rule, and they changed the rules for where you could go to vote in Dallas County, which is where Jasmine Crockett is from. And I'll get to Ted Cruz in a second. I have thoughts on Ted Cruz. So they didn't update the website. So then people went to go vote, and they were told, no, you have to go over here, which is another place, which means that they're SOL on that. So they tried to go over there. A judge extended the deadline because it wasn't their fault that they couldn't vote. And then what's his name? I blanked on his name. I think I blocked it out. Ken Paxton. Or I call him Ken Poxton, because he's got like a whole ton of poxes. But anyway, he went and sued to stop. He told the judge, as the attorney, he used his office of Attorney General to tell the Supreme Court to stop the voting. And that's just like insane. He's sitting there trying to meddle in an election that he is a candidate of. So that happened. And fortunately, I think Tallarico ended up winning by like 150,000 votes, which I don't think that's, what was the final tally? So I don't know what it. So Crockett got got about 163,000. Tallarico got 110,000 votes in Dallas County. So that's like, she won by 53,000, but he won the overall election by like 150,000. So I don't think there were 150,000 votes that, like, I don't think it would have made the difference in the other 150,000 votes. So I'm glad Tallarico still won, not just because I ended up deciding for Tallarico. It was I didn't decide until the day of which one to vote for. But I'm glad that that wasn't the difference, because that would really suck if an opposing candidate got to decide who won. That would suck. But they tried. The Party of Election Integrity and the champion of the Party of Election Integrity, he's now saying he will step down if they vote, if the Vote Act passes. which is anything but about election integrity. But yeah, so that pisses me off. All right. So let me say hi to Brett. What do you think of Noam's new job? Have they carved out the job description yet? I don't know. Like, wasn't there a job euthanizing dogs at the DC kennel or something? Like, that's what she should have gone for.
You are on fire today. Like, that rested you some good.
that was an inspiration right there. I'm mad Ted Cruz didn't lose 2 years ago. You know who's happy he didn't win 2 years ago? His neighbors. Because that would have meant he's around longer. Like, remember when he got busted going to Cancun? This, if you ever need to hear a story about how big of an ass he must be in real life, it's this. It's not about he tried to flee Cancun in the middle of the coldest day in Texas history or whatever it was, and just abandon his dog and everything. That's not even the worst part. The worst part is that his neighbors, he invited his neighbors to go with him. Like, he wanted to bring his neighbors with him to Cancun in this, like, you know, coldest day in Texas history with no power and just everything terrible, right? And they said no. And they didn't just say no. They called the press and leaked it. Like, they actually used that to, like, use that invitation as a knife to stab him in the back with. That's how big of a jerk he must be. Like that, like they would rather use that against him than just take him up on the invitation. Ted Cruz is such an ass. Even his own beard tries to escape his face. Like, it looks like it's perpetually in escape mode. I live like 200 feet from a polling location. Kappa. Wow. What is Kappa, though? Noam alone. What about Corey? Isn't Corey with her? Yeah, it's a new made-up job called Shield of the Americans. America's plural. Yeah, I think that, you know, this way she still gets to imprison brown people or something like that. If I were like, why would you even take the job? It's like, yeah, I mean, obviously not a promotion, right? I think her gave her, yeah, unless it's like just here, go and kill as many people as you want. You know, there are no laws, there are no rules. Just don't kill any more Americans. Muck says Kappa. I don't know what Kappa is. What is Kappa? It's an emoji for sarcasm. Oh, okay, gotcha. She now has diplomatic immunity. Doesn't have to answer to oversight, and she has hemispherical control instead of just America. Very dangerous. That's a man, Brett. Now you got me wondering about this. Is she going to do that? I wonder. Is it a diplomatic position? Hey, Skippy, I recognize you. Looks like you got a name change there. Is that, did you change that, or is this a different account? Did you get suspended on your other account? Did you make somebody mad? I have become a communist despite MAGA. All you have to do to become a communist to despite MAGA is to like not like Trump. Anybody that's like not for Trump is a communist as far as they're concerned. She is no longer limited by the police handbook. She is now using the warfare handbook. Well, not like she was really limited by the police handbook before. It's sad that making Trump look bad was the final straw, and not like killing not one, not two, but 3 American citizens. I mean, and those are just the ones we know about. There could be more. There probably are more. Where'd Skippy go? Are you still here, Skippy? Think about it. Fox News said they fired her. When do they ever not spend something? Oh, Fox News said they fired her. By they, you mean Trump? Fox News. That's an oxymoron. I like to pronounce it like I like to spell it FAUX News, but I'm not the only one. I might have been one of the first, but I'm not the only one. Wonder what happened to Skippy. He came and then he left. Oh, there he is. My picture has always been Robin Olds. Yeah. Now the name reflects it. Robin Olds. Who is Robin Olds? You know what kind of car Robin Olds drove? He was an American fighter pilot and general officer in the U.S. Air Force. He was a triple ace, with a combined total of 16 victories in World War II and the Vietnam War. He retired in 1973 as a brigadier general after 30 years of service. Why do you say he was a communist? I don't understand that. Anyway, his car was an Oldsmobile. You couldn't be arrested at home, but you could be detained, denied entry, or surveilled in any country participating. What is this? Okay. Okay. She can detain people in other countries? What? I don't understand. Hang on, let me. I thought it was just. The shield. Okay, let me come back over here, share my screen. What is the SHIELD initiative? The Shield of the Americas is a new U.S. national security initiative announced by President Donald Trump on March 5th, 2026. This initiative focuses on shifting U.S. security strategy toward Western Hemisphere to combine transnational threats. Everything's a threat. The only threat here is Donald Trump. Following her removal as Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem was appointed as the special envoy for the Shield of the Americas. Doesn't that sound like something from the Avengers or something? Her role involves coordinating with regional leaders to dismantle drug cartels and address illegal immigration. Oh, we're back to caring about drug cartels. She will represent the administration in high-level security and enforcement efforts across the Americas. What does that mean? Does that mean that we're just going to go around to other countries? Regional security targeting narco-terrorist groups, gangs, truck, and mass immigration. They're in their own country. What does that mean? Mass immigration. You're going to get all the Guatemalans out of Guatemala? Leveraging U.S. assets in the region to a degree not seen since the Cold War. Like Guatemala again? We overthrew how many of those countries already? Coalition building, strengthening ties with like-minded allies. And so which ones? Honduras? The one that's actually a cartel leader? An inaugural Shield Summit is scheduled for leaders from 11 to 13 American countries, including Argentina, El Salvador, and Panama, are expected to extend. Notable absences include Mexico, Brazil, and Colombia. Okay. How does this contrast with the Summit of the Americas? All right. The Shield of Americas initiative is a sharp departure from the traditional Summit of the Americas. While the traditional summit is a broad, inclusive forum for all 35 nations in the Western Hemisphere, the Shield Summit is a smaller invitation-only event for like-minded allies. Narrow alliances instead of trying to find consensus with the entire group. The Trump administration is focusing on a core group of partners. By partners, he means little bitches. This is a militarized approach to the SHIELD initiative, emphasizing U.S. military and intelligence assets at Cold War levels to dismantle cartels, whereas the traditional summit focuses more on diplomatic and civil cooperation and, you know, like encouraging democracies and stuff like that. So basically, it sounds like she's just going to be his little envoy to becoming king of South America. He's wants to be in charge of South America and Iran and Cuba and like the entire world. Oh, he isn't a communist. Okay. I am a communist. Only to upset MAGA. A libertarian communist. Instead of naming Americans domestic threats, she can name them hemispherical threats. What does that even mean? What the hell is a hemisphere? My goodness. And she's not even a white man. Aren't it usually like Pete Hegseth? This is just such a cluster fornication of a cabinet. And they're just inventing this thing. Where's the congressional approval of this or whatever? Anyway, I was asking about the Summit of the Americas. My dad was a diplomat. And the first couple of Summit of the Americas, he was the coordinator for it. He wasn't involved in the actual summit, but in terms of the logistics and organizing it and everything like that, he did all that stuff, which is kind of cool. That started under Clinton. They want all the Americans, right? That's the goal. But yeah, I think it is. He wants to, not just the Americas, also Greenland. He wants to conquer Canada. He wants the entire Western Hemisphere to belong to the United States. Big brain play. Is your name Brad? Are you Brad? Is that your real name? Because if it is, I want to say, look at the big brain on Brad. All of North America and South America are allies. So every puppet we have installed. And then, are we Israel's puppet? By extension, is Bibi going to be the supreme leader of the Western Hemisphere? Because apparently we go to war when he tells us to. If an American citizen is labeled a threat and is targeted in a country where no M is the special envoy, the U.S. Bill of Rights doesn't follow them. Okay, what does that mean? Like, what if they're in America? Okay, I'm going to have to research this and get back to you on it. Let me. So first it says no, it doesn't. However, the initiative and broader administration policies has sparked legal and constitutional debate. Am I still? Okay, so let me. Limits on ICE and DHS authority, no jurisdiction over U.S. citizens. Again, agencies like ICE do not have legal authority to arrest or deport U.S. citizens for immigration violations, mistaken detentions. So this is constraining, contrasting SHIELD Acts. The name SHIELD is currently being used for two opposing efforts. The initiative, Trump's Shield of Americas, is an executive strategy to dismantle cartels using military-level intelligence. It sounds like this is a so there's two things that are going on. SHIELD is part of the Shield of the America thing, and then there's a SHIELD Act, which is made to something proposed by the Democrats on the same day to strengthen immigrant rights. Courts have already issued temporary restraining orders to block certain removal. Okay, so that's going back to the. It's confusing different things. So unilateral designation of cartels. The president has established a process to bypass traditional, by that he means legal, traditional criminal justice definitions by designated, okay, yeah, this is going back to the foreign terrorist thing. Yeah, so this is going back to like the bombings. So I don't know if that will apply to American citizens or not, but I'm interested in looking at what you saw. With no congressional approval, the next president can throw it away. Yeah, provided there is a next president or we ever have another election. I'm concerned that he's going to use this Iran war to just cancel the elections. Oh, don't tell him that. He'll be like, challenge accepted. We're going to have a war. He's already talking about going after Cuba next. I wouldn't be surprised if we had a war with Cuba before the month is over. If those BC supremacists secede from Canada, it might be a reality. Yeah, that's I think the percentage on that is like really, really low. Probably yeah. And it wasn't just a test bed to see if it would work. It was a test bed to see if the Republicans would stop him. They simply don't care now. The Republicans will just let, after Venezuela and after Iran, they will just let Trump do whatever he wants. So you're talking about American citizens in other countries. Okay, that makes more sense. I mean, it doesn't, but it does. Who knows? No, and nobody knows what that man is going to think from one day to the next, not even him. 10 Americans dead in this war of choice so far. We're up to 10? Oh, that's another thing that pissed me off. 10 American soldiers are dead because he chose this war. And they absolutely had a poop throwing contest because Obama chose to end a war. And 11 people died in a single terrorist attack. Do you know that here's a fun fact for you? The fewest people killed in action, the fewest soldiers killed in action in the this millennium was under Biden. Those were the only 11 soldiers that died that were killed in action while he was president. But we make it sound like he's the only one that ever lost soldiers or something. How many casualties in the war in Iran so far? Let's make that U.S. casualties. That one says 6. So were there some more today? $1,332 have been killed by Americans. And that's probably a low ball. Anyway, so I saw all this stuff about how terrible it was for the media to be, talking about, casualties and just because they hate Trump. And it's like the same friggin' people that spent 4 years blaming Biden because 11 people died in a terrorist attack to get out of during the Afghanistan pullout. Like 10 confirmed. I heard the F-35 was shot down one to 2 days ago. Yeah. I thought there were 3 fighter planes that were shot down by Kuwait. They were like friendly fire. I dyslexied that. I say I have dyslexia. I get words, especially some words I get all messed up on. The 3 F. Oh, so there were 3 F-15s and an F-35. Oh. So that raises the cost up even more. Was the USS Abraham hit? I saw that it was, but it was only then I only saw it like a little bit. And I haven't heard it mentioned since then. So anyway. Um, Actually, Israeli F-35 had their first shoot down of an Iranian Yak-130. British RAF F-35 shot down some drones. Oh, so the British is? I thought the British weren't participating. Oh, just in defense. No U.S. ships have been yet. So anyway, wow, we are remarkably bot free today. So not nearly as much acrimony, which is nice. So anyway, I'm still like not 100%, but I did want to just jump on for an hour and just kind of touch base, let you guys know I'm still alive. So I will see you on Monday, and thanks for joining. Good chat. Nice to see you there, Mac Truck, and Walter and Brett and Kitty and Skippy and everybody. I will talk to you on Monday. Have a pleasant weekend.